All right, we're back, and it's COMP1011, and it's week 11, lesson 11, part 2. We just finished writing a little bit of code in our onCreate method. We do have a couple of event handlers, if you will, or callback functions that we still need to write, but we haven't written them yet. Before we go do this, I just want to skip over to the code for a second, so bear with me while I do that. When I skip over to the code, I have this thing here, and it gives me this error, right? If I right-click over it, or if I hover over it, a lot of times it'll give me a fix, right? So I want to hover and see what the error is. If I click onto this thing, the error, it says, hey, it says create field, build text watcher, create constant, change to build edit text. That's what I could do. There's actually something else I could do, right? Which means I could actually refactor and create my own, I create a method out of here altogether. That's actually a quick fix I can do as well, right? If I want to bring up the quick fix, so I click on this, right? It says create field. These are the quick fixes that it has. I could certainly create my own build edit text watcher event handler just from here, just because I know the name. But for now, we're going to leave it, and we're going to go on and create our custom method. Now, where do you put this custom method? Are you going to put it on create options menu? By the way, on create customs menu, we're not going to use. If you were to delete this thing or not use it, it's not going to do anything. Same thing with on options menu selected items, item selected. We're never going to use this one in this application either. So these are the two methods that come with our application that we won't touch. Okay, so let's put it before these methods because maybe we'll get rid of them later. This is where we're going to start writing our own custom method. And this is what the custom method is going to look like. Oops. This is what the custom method is going to look like here. So let's just write this. So it's not the incomplete method. I'll wait till you guys write this part, and then I'll move to the next piece. Now, one thing to note is we haven't really called this method yet, this update standard, right? We haven't done that. So when does it trigger? We don't know any place where we haven't triggered update standard yet. We're writing it in advance, but we haven't done anything with it. And what does this do? It actually takes the 10% tip as an example, where actually we have some new local variables here, and we say it's equal to current build total times 1, times 0.1. Well, how can I do that? Well, guys, because our current build total, right, is actually now, we've already created references to these objects, right? So I can do that. Because I made references, they are the objects. These aren't just, these variables that I've created are actually aliases to the controls that are on my UI. So you have to treat them as if they are the controls. And that's why I can do this kind of stuff. I'll wait till you guys get down to that point, and then I'll start typing my own. Okay, how are you guys doing with this one? Almost done? Now, I'll be honest with you, this is, do we need to do this? We'll see in a second. Would you program this, is the question. You guys have enough programming knowledge now. When you look at this method, could you do this in a different way? I definitely would. I'll tell you right now. I don't like, this is what I don't like. I don't like the fact that I'm declaring variables in the middle of assigning variables. To me, this is bad practice. I like putting all my variable declarations at the top of my method declaration, right? That's me. So I don't like doing this kind of mix and matching of variables. People do it all the time, but the right thing to do is to declare these variables, all these variables first, these local variables, and then down here, assign them, right? So that's the right thing to do, right? Or do them all at once, if you can, right? Current build total, all this kind of stuff. The problem is you need some of this stuff. You notice it says tip10 edit text.set text. I'm setting the text to whatever I've got over here, and I can't do this until this is done, right? That's what it's doing. But there's different ways of doing this kind of thing. It's going to take up more lines, but as you're going to see when I do it, I'm going to break it up a little bit. Nope. Sorry about that. Can I move on now? All right, so here's me. I'm going to try and do it now. So again, I'm calling this a private void update standard method. So private void update standard. Now if it's a private void, guess what? Mine's going to be underscore. Private void, anything underscore, again, is private update standard. I haven't called it yet, and I'm just going to make it like this. The first thing, if you notice, this method takes 0 parameters, right? I'm going to start declaring all my variables, so double, right? And the first one is 10% tip, 10% tip, right? And the next one is 10% total, double, 10% total. I'm going to declare all of them first. This is the way I'm going to do it. 15% tip, 15% total. I'm guessing there's 20 as well. 15% tip and double 15% total. And I'm just going to skip forward just to make sure. And there is 20% tip, 20% total is there. So I might as well just do it now. Would you write this differently? Blaine, do you have an idea of how to write this differently? No, just would you write all these variables, would you write them differently? Like, why are we writing all these different variables? They're all doubles. Couldn't we write this in an array?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this doesn't really, is it really necessary that we know all these variables? They're all local variables too, which is kind of weird, right? All right, the other one is now I'm going to set the 10% tip to current build total times 0.1. So 10% tip is equal to current build total, this dot underscore current build total, right, times 0.1. And the other one is 10% total, 10% total is equal to this dot underscore what? Current build total plus 10% tip. So we're just finding out the 10% tip. This is kind of weird too, eh? Come on. 10% tip. Me personally, I'll tell you right now, I could have done this in one line, right? So 10% tip is this, right? And all I'm doing is taking this and adding it to this, to my build total. So I could have done it in one. I could have cut down half of these variables right now myself. Okay, and same thing. 15% tip is 15, and da da da. So let's just do the same thing. So let's go into these and Control C, Control V, and this one here. So this is 15. So 15% tip. And this is 20% tip. and it's still current tip total, right? And then 15% total, and this is 20% total. Oop. And I think I've done it right. Well, except for the percentages, 15 and 20. Now, one thing it does is it also does this formatting, right? I can do all this formatting after myself. I'd like to write it that way because these are just formatting the output to the tip 10 edit text. So we're going to do that in between. So this dot tip 10 edit text, right? And it says dot the set text method, set text, right? We're going to use the set text method, and we're going to send in a string, a format, a string dot format method to send it to format the 10% tip to include 2 decimal places. So here's our format, percent dot 02f, right? 2 decimal places. And at the end, it's going to be the 10% tip. Right? That's what that is. That's what that does. So it basically sends a formatted 10% tip out to tip 10 edit text. And tip 10, total 10 edit text is going to be the same thing with 10% total. And that's the only reason why you'd need that separation between the 2 variables that I can possibly see. So instead of tip 10 edit text, it's going to be total 10 edit text. And again, it'll be total percent tip. Percent tip. What is it called? 10% total. 10% total. Again, to me, also very confusing names, but that's just me. So that's just that. 10% total, 10% tip. And it's going to be the same thing for 15% total, 50% tip, and I'm guessing it's going to be the same for 20% total and 20% tip. So that's it, guys. It's exactly the same for all of them to finish off your thing. All right, so I'm just gonna, I'll leave this up for a second, but I'll go back and finish mine. So it's the same pattern, right? This, to me, almost looks like it should be a method of its own, because I can save lines of code, right? Tip 15, tip 15. Instead of 10%, it's 15%, 15, and 15% total. And the same thing goes with the 20% total. So take this, copy it, paste it, and on the bottom it says tip 20 and tip 20. And down here it should be 20%. And same thing here. I personally don't like it myself. I think this is badly written, but I understand why. And that's why I broke up this. I kind of did all my variable declarations up top here, and then from here I did all the rest of this stuff. Personally, I still think this is inefficient, and I would probably send this all into one method that takes the tip amount and the variable type and kind of calculates everything in one. And I would probably save like 10 lines here. But anyways, that's just me. Okay, here's the next one. Update custom. Here's the complete method. Go. It updates the custom tip and total edit text based on the tip percentage. Now again, these are the methods we're writing, and we're writing them before we do the event listeners, because I'm guessing that the event listeners call upon these methods. This is my guess, if I was going to guesstimate. some of the same things. I would say I would kind of declare my custom tip amount and custom total amount at the top of my update custom method, and then I would assign them afterwards. That's just the right thing to do. I don't like declaring and assigning variables as I go. It's bad form. I understand why the authors did it, because they want to save space in their PowerPoint slides, right? And we do it actually often. If you look at Deedle and Deedle's books, a lot of times what they do is they skip using opening and closing braces, do a couple things. They know it's not as accurate as possible, but they also talk about best practices, which is good. They talk about the good things and the bad things. Let me know when you guys are ready. I'll move to the next one. You guys good? Cody, good? Blaine? Almost. Cody, you're beating him, man. I'm sure you're good. You're better at him than on these online games too. You're faster. Click, click, click. There you go.
It's not a good thing.
What do you mean?
Thinking fast? All throughout my elementary school and high school, I have thought fast and like did everything fast, but I make so many mistakes along the way.
Now that'll be immortalized on YouTube. Those thoughts. Thank you for that. All right. I'm going to move to do this now too. So it's going to be a private void update custom method. So let's do that. I'm going to do that after this method here. So private void update custom. Whoa. Well, if it's an update custom, I'm going to do the same thing I did here. Update standard, right? I'm going to do update custom with an underscore. Update custom. Void means I'm not going to return anything. That's what this is doing. And I got a couple of variables I'm going to declare: custom tip amount and custom total amount. So those are the two variables I'm going to declare. So custom tip amount, double custom tip amount, and double custom total amount. And now I'm going to say my custom text view, set text, current custom percent, it's interesting, plus a percent. So I'm adding a percentage sign, right, to my text view. Okay. So whatever the custom percentage is, plus my percent sign, just to format it. So I'm going to say this dot underscore custom tip text view equals, dot set text. And what I want to do is this current custom percent, this dot underscore current custom percent, right, plus the percent sign. Right? That's what that's doing. All right, good. And then the next one is custom tip amount is equal to current bill total times current custom percent times 0.1. Custom tip amount is equal to current bill total, this dot underscore current bill total. And again, for those people watching online, I'm doing this because the right way to do it. This dot current custom percent times 0.1 times 0.1 or 0.01. And then it's custom total amounts. Oh. Custom total amounts is equal to the same thing. Current bill total plus custom tip amount. So that actually does what we're doing up here in a different way. just updating the custom totals when we customize our options. And then I'm going to set the text now. Tip custom edit text, set text. And I'm setting the string format to .2 and custom tip amount. And of course I didn't spell it right, but that's okay. And the same thing with this, or total custom edit text. Total custom edit text dot set text method, string format, and we're going to go %.02f, and then custom total amount. Yep, this is the update. So we're going to update our standard. These are standard, so update standard percentages, like tip percentage, and totals. And this is, so we have like 10, 15, 20, that kind of, those are standards. And this one we're going to update custom tip percent and totals. That's what we're doing here with this particular method. Okay, cool. Next, it says overriding method on saved instance state of class activity. And then it says in Eclipse you can generate this method by right-clicking on the source code and then selecting source, override, implement methods, right? And then the dialog that appears shows you every method that can be overridden or implemented in this class, right? Simply select the checkbox on the on save instance state, right? This one, right? And what that does is it generates the method for you. The method shell will be generated like this. Okay, so let's see if it happens for you. I'll let that stay on. So these are all the methods you can possibly implement. If you don't know what class methods are, this is a great way of getting that. Bundle. On saved instance state bundle. So again, you would right-click, source, override, implement methods. So again, we're going to do that down here underneath this method. So right-click, right? Source, and then override, implement methods, and then it's going to show us the, if I script down to saved, I think it's on save instance state, right? On save instance state, which is, I passed it, of course. On save instance state bundle, this one, right? And then what it says is select this, and then it says insert point after the update custom. You can choose where. I've already put it there. Update custom method. That's the insertion point. And if I click OK, it presents the shell. You can actually choose to go wherever you want. Look, if I click this button here, it tells me anywhere I want inside my declaration, inside my class. It actually knows. It's one good thing about Eclipse that I like. Press OK, and then it generates the stub. This is good. We could have typed this on our own too, but it actually does a lot of stuff for us right away. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and then inside this, we want to do this. And what this does is we want to put. Remember, we did these. We used the get, right? Remember, we talked about the on-saved instance state as almost like a place where we can save a couple of variables, right? Well, I can actually put a double and put an integer, and it says that we save the current build total and the custom tip percentage inside this on-saved instance state area, or this container, if you will. So key value pairs is what it says in the bundle. Now the great thing is we can save as many of these doubles and ints and whatever as we want. We just got to give them key value pairs. So the key would be something like a string, and the value is what we're going to send in there. Okay? So it's almost like, think about this as like volatile memory. We're storing something in volatile memory, and as long as the app is active, we've got it stored in there. Once the app goes down, right, or we actually shut the app down altogether, then the saved instance state is wiped away. It's not truly data. We're not saving any data anywhere on the app. We're just doing it in memory, in volatile memory. Let me know when you guys are done this one. There's only a couple lines to write here. Yeah? Okay. So again, we have our outstate variable. Here's our outstate variable. And we're using the outstate local variable here. So I'll say outstate dot put. And again, if I want to put double, here's our put double. We need to use key value pairs, and that's what comes up. Key value pairs is build total and current build total. So we know build total is our constant, and then this dot underscore, this dot underscore, come on, current build total, right? And the same thing goes with our that we want to do with our integer. We want to outstate dot put int. Again, we want to use this key value pair combo, where now the integer that we're sending over is this custom %. And inside this, we're going to say this dot current custom %. Okay, and that's done. So this is what we do when this thing it changes states. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here's the next one. Here's our first listener. We're almost done. Our on Seekbar change listener. Let's do this one. Now this is an anonymous inner class. This is interesting what this does. Okay, take a look. We actually create an anonymous inner class called that's inside of here, right? Let me ask you this question, all right? The on Seekbar change listener. See where it says on Seekbar change listener. It's interesting how we're writing this here. Private on Seekbar change listener, custom Seekbar change listener. What we're saying here is, let's make an alias. Think about this as JavaScript. Actually, it's almost identical to JavaScript, right? Where we're saying our custom Seekbar listener is a new on Seekbar listener, change listener object. That's what it is, right? And inside there, it has, of course, a couple of these methods that are part of it. So this on Seekbar change listener is a class. So we're creating this anonymous inner class is what it's called, right? Which actually we're calling it custom Seekbar listener. We're creating an alias for it, so it's not really anonymous anymore. But inside of this inner class, so we have a class within a class, and you can do that. You do that a lot with Android. These anonymous inner classes. If you've never seen them before, this kind of thing. By the way, you don't see this a lot in C#. Anonymous inner classes, a class within a class, right? But in Android, you see it all the time. And this is why you don't have, if you notice it says private on Seekbar change listener, there's no voice, there's no return type, because this is not a method we're calling a class. If anything, what we're doing is we're overriding, right? We're creating a new object on Seekbar, an object of type on Seekbar change listener, which is kind of weird. It's almost like we have to write our own listener object. Could you write this differently? Absolutely. You could create a separate document. Remember we did this when we were doing stuff with Spring a little bit, right? With Swing, I mean. With Swing, we created you can make your own custom document that has its own class, or you can write it in the class itself and create an inner class, right? Well, it's the same thing here. You can create your own custom, another document. We can call this thing custom Seekbar listener, and it would be a class, a new class in Java, and we can use this thing to create a new object, right away. The thing is, this does it all. It kind of makes the custom Seekbar listener an object, an anonymous object, or sorry, an object of an anonymous inner class on Seekbar change listener. It's kind of weird. So again, I'll ask you guys, would you write it this way? Chances are you wouldn't, not off the top of your head. But this is how we do things in Android. You don't have to. And you could write this differently. You can make your own class. And you can instantiate the object a little differently than the way it's done here. Let me know when you guys are done. What was that? Done but fraught with errors? Okay. Let's start doing it. I'll start doing it with you, okay? So private on Seekbar change listener. So I'll start writing it. So it's under this on saved instance. So private, and then I'm saying on Seekbar change listener, on Seekbar change listener, right? That's what it is, on Seekbar change listener. And I'm going to make my custom, if you notice what I have up here, I called it custom Seekbar listener with an underscore because it's private. It's an object, so I'm going to say underscore custom Seekbar listener. That's the only difference that you're going to see on mine, because I use that up here. This is where we're writing the actual callback function or method. In this case, it's a class, an object, custom object that we're using. And we're saying it's equal to a new on Seekbar change listener object. So it's equal to new on Seekbar change listener object, right? Now I could write it like this, but if you notice, as soon as I do that, what does it do? It generates my stub. Did yours generate your stub too, like this? It generated all this for me. I didn't write any of it. As soon as I did this, this all came out right away. Okay? That's the first thing. This is the way I wrote it. And then the next one is, I'm going to add some stuff in here inside this first piece where it says on stop tracking touch, right? That's one thing I have down here. And the other one is on progress changed. That's up here. So they've actually written it up here, but my stub is generated a little differently. If you notice, it was generated in a different order. I didn't do this. It was generated all for me. All right, so on progress change is what I'm going to write down there. And then what I want is Seekbar int progress, which is the how much progress from an integer perspective from user. This is all the same stuff there. And I'm going to say current custom percent is equal to Seekbar.getProgress. So current custom percent, this dot underscore current custom percent is equal to Seekbar.getProgress. Now see how mine's not being found? Are you getting the same errors?
Yeah.
It's okay. Talk about that in a second. How come? How come? How come? And update custom. So what am I calling? This dot underscore update custom. Because that's what I would have called. Now look what it says here. It says the method update custom is undefined for the new type Seekbar on Seekbar listener. Why? Because if you notice, right, on Seekbar change listener, when I do that, this context, when I use the keyword this doesn't apply to this up here anymore. It applies to this in here. So if I take away the this, will it work?
Yep.
And the reason for that is because the context that I'm using this is a different context, right? This, when I use the this keyword in this context, right, it points to my anonymous inner class on Seekbar change listener, which is the custom Seekbar change listener item, right? So I can't use this in this context. Okay, let's continue. Oops, it's not what I wanted. We're almost done too. So that's the progress changed. Now the other one is the on start track touch. I didn't do anything here, and the on stop tracking touch. These are additional 2 listeners that we're not touching. We're not actually modifying these at all. So they're just like what happens when the tracking touch stops or starts. And you can choose additional controls here, put some additional things in there so that when these 2 listeners fire, these sub-listeners, if you will, then you can make them do something. Okay, next. Let's do the next one. Text watcher, and this is another anonymous inner class, if you notice. So write this new anonymous inner class. We're almost done after this. And then hopefully the bloody thing will work. That's another thing. Yeah, so anonymous inner classes are fun things. And again, are they best practices from an Android perspective? Not necessarily best practices, but they're very common. It's the way we do things in Android, like I said. And again, I want to reiterate this. Could you do things differently? Absolutely. You could create your own class. Nothing stops you from doing so in Java. A named class, where you instantiate your own object. And remember, a class is what type? Is it a value type or a reference type? Do you guys remember? It's a reference type, just like an array. An array and a class, a list, all those hardcore collections and upper, more complex types, they're all reference types. Which means if I pass a reference to the class, the actual class itself, right? I get memory location for the class, right? Not of the value of the class or a copy of it. And here's your regular try-catch block that you're writing to confirm that you can do this parse double. That's all you're doing. Here's what I don't like about this. See how they use the car sequence or character sequence S in onText changed? I really don't like when they use these short forms in Android. I'm not really a big fan of that at all. And of course, this will get written out for you, yeah? As soon as you do the, if you type this in the way it is, if you start typing private text watcher, blah, 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 right, on the top there, it'll be the exact same for you. You'll see. Let me know when you guys are ready. We'll continue. Does it write it for you in this exact same way, the stub that comes out from an Android perspective? Didn't?
No.
Wow, let's see what it does for me.
Manually.
Really?
Yeah.
How about you, Cody? Are you writing it manually too, or did it come out automatically for you? Dude, really? There's some tricks. There's some tricks that I used last time. Did you catch the tricks? Okay, I'll show you the tricks so you guys can save yourself all this typing. I use control space, right?
Yep.
And that's how you do it. Once you use control space on this, after the new keyword, when you go private text watcher, bill edit text watcher is equal to new, and then I go text, I start typing text, and then control space, it completes the word for me, and boom, it gives me my my text, my whole stub. Let me know when you're ready. Ready? Okay, let me show you how it goes. So, private text watcher. I'm going to start writing this thing just like I did last time. And I wrote my semicolon and everything. Private, right, text watcher, watch. Control space, text watcher. And I'm going to name the text watcher, which we know it's going to be called underscore bill edit text watcher. Underscore bill edit text watcher. Let me see if I called it that to make sure. It's up here, right? Where I called it up here. Bill edit text watcher, right? Here we go, is equal to new, watch it, watch it, watch it. Here we go, new. If I start typing text and I go control space and I hit enter, watch. Bam. Look what it did. All that gets generated for me, dude.
What did you do?
What
Show it again.
Should I show it again? Sure, give me 1 sec. Okay, I'm gonna undo, right? So look where I am here. So I said I start typing, right? I go new, and then I start typing text, stop the word, control space. It brings up the different list of items. If I hit enter right here, bam, it generates it all for me, right? So it's less finger typing errors again, right? And that's what you want to try and do. So I've got the stubs in place, so I don't have to type all this myself. And now when I go back in here, all I have to do is modify. So on text change, the big one, if you notice the after text change and the before text change, nothing happens. But this is where everything happens. So on text change what I want, which is in here. So I'm going to get rid of this stub. And I'm going to start typing my stuff in here. And I'm going to do a try catch. So if I do try, look, here's some quick things. Control space. Here's my try catch block. Boom, try catch, right? So here's my try catch block. That's already written for me. And it gives me a number format exception. That's the kind of thing. So a number format, control space, number format exception. There it is. I use my code hinting a lot, right? And then I say current bill total is equal to double, parse double. This dot, oh yeah, I have to do the same thing. So current bill total, right, is equal to double dot parse double dot parse double. And the string that I'm parsing is S, which is up there. And then I'm going to do toString, right? And we're doing this toString to convert, make sure, this is the funny thing with what we do here. We're doubly converting. I'm converting it first to string to make sure whatever I'm getting in for my character sequence on text change is accurate. I'm converting it to string and then converting it back to double. That's what I'm doing here. Okay? So that's my first one. So if this works, the try is going to fire off. Everything's good. It's going to do this. If it fails, like if we type something else that's not a string, it's going to fire the catch piece, and the catch piece is going to set current bill total to 0, 0. So same thing. We're going to say underscore current bill total oops, is equal to 0.0. Okay, that piece is done. And now we're going to do update standard and update custom. Those are the two methods we're going to fire. This is after the try catch block. Regardless of what's going to happen, we're going to do those standards here. So update standard, control space, update custom, control space, and you see how it writes it for me. So mine's done. Not because I type fast, but because I know how to use code hinting. All right. All right. So this is all done. Let's do one more. Since our app doesn't make use of the options menu, we can delete this overridden method. So on create options menu, right? And it looks like we can probably delete the other one too, because we have two things in here, right? That's why I told you. Remember down here, on create options menu and on options item selected. Well, these two menu items, this one, we don't need this one. And if we don't have that one, this options item selected, we don't have options items, right? So we can delete this one too. Make sense? Okay, so we've got all of our code. So let's review this a little bit, because this is really it for today. We're going to test this out. So we declared all these variables. Just a review. We've created these static custom constants, if you will, right? And the reason why we use these is we can use these to communicate with our saved instance, right? With our saved instance state object. The save instance state is volatile memory where we can save some temporary variables while our app changes states. That's what this is doing. We create these private instance variables here, right? So we can link or wire up our UI to the app, right? In our onCreate object, we check to see if the instance state if we've created this thing before, we set the initial values. Otherwise, if it's already been created, we want to retrieve the values that have been saved in the saved instance state container, right? And we're using the build total and custom percent constants as the keys. That's what we're sending into them to get the right values back into current build total and current custom percent. So we can save our state, save our custom values. And then, on this big block, we're creating references to all the objects that are on the UI, right? And then we're creating event listeners, right? Or we're actually calling the event listeners and we're actually naming the event handler objects that we're going to call later on, right? We also have a couple of custom, and I'll put this in there. Here's some utility methods. I'm going to put this in. Let's do some more documenting here. So here's our utility methods, right? We got two of them, and they're both private utility methods, right? We have our update standard, which is actually named incorrectly. I don't like it. Update standard. Basically, it's update standard, tip, and total. That's what it is. And then this one here, which is another private method, which is update custom tip and total. And then down here we have our on-save instance state. What happens with this particular event handler here is when the save instance state is called, we want to put our key value pairs into this save instance state object, volatile memory, right? When the Seekbar happens, this on Seekbar change listener, these are the two change listeners, or these custom anonymous inner classes that we're calling for it to kick off and work. Okay, let's run this thing and see if it bloody works now. That's the real test. So I'm going to say tip calculator. I've got this tip calculator one. You can also run as. I'm going to go back to our main XML file here to run. So where it says our graphical layout, I'm clicking on that. And you can choose run as Android application. You got to run it from here actually. You can't run that application from your main activity.java. It won't run there. But if you can run it from the XML. So let's see what happens when I do that. So tip calculator, it's going to launch, of course, my Android virtual machine, right? and then it should launch my tip calculator, and this time it should be active. I should be able to do stuff with it. It should actually be complete. Let's check it out. So, brown sugar, what do you think the chances are of my little app working?
Pretty high.
High? Well, the good thing is we're not getting any errors. This is a really good thing, right? So when you guys do your app, your BMI calculator, think of this app as a template for that one, right? You're almost doing some of the similar things that you're going to do for that one. Don't stray. Don't try and do your own, like, too much of your own artistic creativity in this particular case. You don't want that. You want to make sure that this thing works. Once you can create your first app, you'll be so happy to make your BMI calculator work. Trust me, you won't believe it, right? Because you've done a couple things here. You've actually transcended some of the other people that can't do this stuff, right? You've created your UI. In your background, you're going to wire it up, and you're going to make some simple functionality occur. That's all I'm looking for this first assignment, if you think about it in a nutshell. And we have one more after this, I think, and then I think we're done. Then we have our final exam. Now, again, we have some options for the final exam to actually make I talked about making it almost like a little project, but time is running short, and I want to give you another project to do on top of the other project that you have in the other class. So I think probably better to do a little exam with a little practical piece we're going to do during the exam. That'll cover your 30%. Okay? Which makes it good and bad. Good because, you know, we're making our new little app. Bad because it's hard, right? It's hard, and you got to make Android work. If you don't make Android work on the exam, it's like, you know, we're in trouble, right? So we got to be very, very clear and very to the point about how we're going to do that. You want another quiz too? Before the exam? Can't hear you, sorry. The exam, the final exam, yeah. Well, are you asking for another quiz, like a multiple choice too? I might be able to include something like that if it makes it easier for you, right? Please. You said please, listen to him, please. So maybe a mix, you want a mix of things instead of one thing. All right, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. Huh?
Practical is so much better than multiple questions.
Questions are ugly, right? They can be pretty ugly.
Because they're usually just theory. But
I don't want to test you just on theory, right? I want to test you on what you can do. All right, it's starting to launch. I've got my clock working, right? Let's see if I've actually got my stuff working out here. So I'm going to kind of bring this up, see if I've got any errors. This is the key, right? It says prune dead stuff. It's still starting off my app, and it's still doing things in the background, right here. If you notice, this is what my logcat is doing. It's telling me all this stuff is going on. And I want to wait till this is all finished before it's compiling everything and putting it into a state where I can actually run it. Okay, we got our tip calculator. I don't know if you guys got this yet. Here's our build total. I know. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for it. That's what the thing is.
They probably know that. And the 6% good, right?
I want to be able to click into there, right? I want to see if yours runs too. Tell me if your app is running. This is a key thing, right? No?
Yeah.
Clean your project?
Yeah.
That's okay. So the key is, I know there's a problem that this isn't running yet because I can't click into build total yet.
For some reason, I feel that it will run, that is only doing that because you clicked on it way too early.
Could be, could be.
Yeah, it's combined with no error. It's like if you scroll up in the there, there's like not a single red line.
So far. What about all this?
Oh, there.
com.android.email though, strict mode. Don't worry about that. Has nothing to do with my app. Activity 3, look, activity thread.
So it's just warning the service card.
Email, service, email, broadcast, processor, service. Right, as leaked service connection, com, Android, email, com, service. Yeah, so nothing to do with my app.
Do you want to relaunch it maybe?
Sure. Well, the way to do that, of course, is what? Press escape, right? Yep. If I press escape, it'll take me out. Right, so it says killing, com, external storage. Right? Don't worry about that. No, I'm going to run it again. So now that I've got the emulator running, I'm going to go tip calculator app.
Couldn't load module, couldn't load.
Let's see. Well, if I the trick is if I can't click in here, but I can do this. See, I can change this. This is good. Yeah, but see, this is good. How this is changing this. My Seekbar is actually working, right? This part here. So, because that allows me to do one of these. It allows me to change this. But this is a problem. See, look at my text view when I click. Does not support text selection. Text view does not support text selection. This build total.
I think it's an only read-only mode.
Yeah, but that's wrong, right? So here's a question. Let's go back to my object here. What is this thing? Is it a text view or an edit text? Let's go down here and check what this is. Is it edit text? That's what this is. If I click on this build total, right? It's not locked. If I go up to the top, it says there's a text view called build total. Here it is. And a build edit text. The build edit text is what I want to click on. Let's separate this just a little bit. See if I can do that. If I can, and if you notice, I can't change the size of my object. You know why? Can't change this because the columns are part of my layout, right? My layout is preventing me. So this whole thing is where I can click theoretically. So I can click over here, right? Let's see what logcat says. So here's logcat, and it says text view.
Just scroll to the right. Can you scroll it all at the bottom? To the right.
Hold on.
See what the message ends in.
No, hold on.
Not this way, the other way.
I know. But let me see if I do it again. See how this isn't doing anything now? But as I come closer, it does do stuff. Here, look at this. If I'm here close to the build, yeah.
Robin believes your mouse is broken.
No. But I'm over here, I'm okay. I'm not doing anything over here. But over here, it's clicking on, it says I can't do anything with my text view. It'll do the same thing if I click on my tip. Watch. If I click my tip.
No, when you click on build total, it gives you the text view option at the bottom. If you go back to logcat, and it says action at the bottom, can you go to the action cancel? Canceling the action.
Action mode canceled. Text view does not support text selection. It's not a text view.
Yeah.
Are you getting the same issue, Blaine?
Now my tablet's on too old for it to run.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
All right, so we're going to stop recording now. I'm going to fix the problem locally here, and then we're going to continue.